Hi, I am Rachel McLeod. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. I'm gonna take my glasses off. And I'm gonna raise my desk a smidge. Gotta get situated over here. Today I want to talk with you. I wanted to get on and talk about. I gave this two titles. What does suicidal thoughts and the spring have in common? That's one title. That's what I'm going to talk about, suicidal thoughts. And then the other title I gave this is Suicidal Thoughts, Plans, and Intentions, and How to Use These Symptoms of Anxiety, Depression, and Traumatic Stress to Heal. And if you have watched me at all, I have tons of videos about using symptoms to heal, and really, this is no different. But I want to talk about it because there is a major connection between the springtime and suicidal thoughts, and it's a very subtle shift, but it's a big one. And I just want to talk about this because I want to bring this into your awareness for whatever reasons. And I'm going to speak about this from the heart and also from my profession and what I know, and I'm going to dump out as much as I can. I did not organize this talk because I thought this would be let's flow. If you have questions, comments about anything that I'm saying, please put them in the comment section. And I will, well, you'll be part of the discussion. You'll help this discussion flow. So, I want to first say that the suicides are the highest in the springtime. That's when we have the most suicides. And that's interesting because when this was presented to me, they said, take a guess when the time is. And I was like, winter, of course. It's terrible in the winter. I live where there's no clouds and sun. I'm affected by the winter. I don't like it. But that's not how it goes. That's not what the numbers say. The numbers say that we have the most suicides in the spring. And so I think this is a really timely thing to bring up and bring into your awareness. And um, because if you are aware, you can do something about it, right? I love Dan Siegel's idea of if you can name it, you can tame it. And that's so true with this. And I want you to understand from a brain function, suicidal thoughts make perfect sense. And if you can look at it from a brain function standpoint, you can really walk yourself into a lot of healing with this. And let me tell you why. Um, your brain is your survival system's entire job is to get you out of pain. That's its entire job. And if you've got symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, or one or two, some people have all three going on, or two of them, you've got emotional pain and agony and torment going on inside your head. And you might know that you do because you might notice yourself drinking more. You're using alcohol to work with your body and your brain to calm it down and to get it to numb the pain. You might notice yourself doing all kinds of behaviors, especially the risky ones. And the more risky behaviors you have, you're playing with your adrenaline system. That will block pain. You're playing with a lot of things. And so there's that. If you're shopping more, if you're fighting more, if you're being more quiet and withdrawn more, these are all ways to try to cope and deal with pain. And the emotional pain is a lot different than physical pain. Physical pain has its own, it's its own risk for suicide. But emotional pain is no different. And we overlook it a lot because we can't see it. And we're fans of if you can't see it, it must not exist. I mean, it's like the whole like American way. I don't. I'm assuming we're all in that same culture where we just right. We're talking science. I mean, we're very science oriented over here in the West, and if you can't see it, it must not exist. And so, one of the side effects of that is that pain, emotional pain, is very much swept under the rug and dismissed. It's happening all the time. But what happens is your survival system doesn't know the difference between physical pain and emotional pain. It doesn't get that. As a matter of fact, rejection is processed in your brain, the same place it would be processed if you were stabbed in the gut. So if you get rejected and you're feeling a lot of pain, yeah, your survival system has interpreted that as the same thing as being stabbed in the stomach. So, having said that, this pain thing that's going on underneath that you may not even be consciously aware of, you may not even know why you feel are starting to have these thoughts. You, this pain might be very much in your awareness, and it might not. It might be very plain to other people, but not to you. But whatever, your survival system knows exactly where it is, and it is paying great attention to it, and it is going to start working for you to figure out how to get you out of that pain. And as it should. That's its job. It takes its job very seriously. And what happens is that the more the more it doesn't find solutions that work and the pain is high, it starts to go through all of the solutions, all of them. It doesn't say, let me just choose the nice solutions. That's not, this part of the brain is not a rational center. It's not a reasoning center. It is just about, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Is it safe? Are we going to survive? Are we going to get out of pain? Is this, that those are the things that it's looking at. And if you're in enough pain, it knows that you cannot survive with this pain. Okay. And so it starts to really switch, right? It starts to make decisions. And so how to get out of this pain becomes such a top priority that it stops check-in with, are we going to survive or not, right? But it's just looking around at its options, and one of the options that will work is suicide, right? And so it doesn't know, and so it doesn't know that all the pain and stuff that this will cause. It's not even thinking about that. Plus your survival system is not worried about your family. It's not worried about your kids. It's not worried about anything. It's not worried about, do you have life insurance? It doesn't care about any of that. That part of the brain is only cares about you. That's it. That's all. And so, so we're sitting here thinking, oh, they're fine because they have all those children to live for. They have this. When you get in that part of the brain, there is nobody else around. There's nobody else that factors into this. And then when you shift out of there, and we shift ourselves out in many ways. And if a lot of the tools I teach people how to use is actually shifts them out of the back of the brain back into the front of the brain, where you have reasoning, choices, options, morals, values, other people like your children and your family, right? And when you get to be part of there, then yeah, you realize those are just thoughts, whatever. But when you're back there, you don't. And that's why we really want to move you to the front over and over and over again. But not just we want to move you to the front over and over and over again, because that's the process for moving the stuff with it. But anyway, we're not there yet. Um, but when you don't have these interventions, you will need to use something, right? And some of these things are not healthy, like alcohol and drugs and risky behaviors and sex. And sometimes sex is lethal, right? Um, and so, but all of them, we don't do them for no reason. We do with them because they actually will shift you out of that out of the survival state that is very painful. No one can live back there, but many of us are living there every day, every day, every day, every day, every season. And the nature in Chinese medicine, spring is about assertiveness. It's about the trees blossoming, the roots going down. It's about just growth up in the systems, down in the roots. And then you go into fall. I mean, the summer. Let me stay on track here. You go into the summer, and that's about joy and passion and excitement and living. And then you go in the winter, and this is the preparing, not the winter. Ladies and gentlemen, my seasons are off. Let me get my brain organized here. Um, you go into the fall, which is about grieving and about preparing for loss and about losing the summer and about preparing and about structure, right? Back in the days when we were tribal, this was time when we would make sure we have enough food to last us through the winter. And then we go into winter where we're hunkered down. And this is a lot of deep reflection And if you've got symptoms of anxiety, depression, traumatic stress, this is a very hard time because your reflection device in your head, your reflection process, and is very skewed, and you end up being very self-critical and self-judgmental, and that hurts. And you spend a lot of time in the winter hurting, 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 and looking forward to the spring coming, you know. And then what happens is you move into the spring, and you might feel some bursts of energy, but then you feel like you just don't have any more. And that is when we come just to the end of that, the energy. And lots of suicidal thoughts happen then because the pain is still a lot, but the energy is still is low. And the feeling like I can't go on like this. And let me tell you, you cannot go on like this, and you should not go on like this. And there is, we're going to get to the way out of this. But you can't. Something has to happen. And a lot of times, you know, somebody around you may come up beside you, and you might receive a boost of their energy that will carry you. And this is a time to, if you have somebody like that, to carry you. Absolutely. You know, this is one of the blessings. And many people don't have somebody to carry them during this time when they literally have no more energy themselves. So that's the first part of this, because if you don't have the energy to do it, it's not going to it's a real thing. Um, so but that's really the thing. And we see so many trees around us, they flourish, and then all of a sudden they've died, you know. And so this deal with spring is just very serious. When I have clients in my therapy practice, when we go through spring, I'm looking out for these things, right? I'm extra on it. um, but I want you to know, in working with brains that have symptoms of that are generating symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, most people have suicidal thoughts. It's just a brain function. Brains think thoughts. They just think all of the thoughts. That's what they do. And many of us are not super worried about that. But when the pain escalates and the thoughts become bigger, and then your brain begins to fixate, because that's, brains with anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress love to get them some fixation going on. It's actually part of how the brain heals itself, is to focus. And so when it is in focus overdrive, that it lets you know, number one, where the brain wants to work. And it also lets you know that the brain is not completing its healing process. It's not able to do the healing function right there. And so, and that really takes me to this piece, is that if those suicidal thoughts are coming up, number one, they will lead us straight to where the pain is. And once we can work on that and the root issue of what is causing pain, we can get that symptom at the top to stop. And we can use those thoughts to get us down in there. And then when we get in there, we're going to use some interventions to bring the whole brain together and to walk the brain through its healing process. And we're going to walk it, because it's not that fixation and that sticking right there. That's the sign that it's not, the healing process is not working. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get in there, manually grab up whatever it's not able to work to resolve, and whatever it's fixated on. And it might be fixated on this solution, but if you look behind the solution, which is suicide, which is not a fabulous solution, um, then underneath it, if you look behind it, it will take you to the root. And some of these are traumatic events. Some of these are flashbacks of parents saying very cruel, horrible things to children, or seeing, being around a parent who was suicidal, like all sorts of different. There's so when you follow this all the way in, and I have followed it in a lot with a lot of people and a lot of times, and you just never know what is at the root of that. But whatever that is, that root, we're gonna take that, and we're gonna walk it through your brain's healing process. We're gonna be like, brain, come on, let's do this. Let's do this. You know what you're supposed to be doing here. And the next thing you know, this thing that was causing incredible pain is resolved. And then the pain levels drop. And then your brain is like, oh, I don't know. We don't really need that. We don't need that solution. It doesn't really match. And we don't need a solution for that pain because that pain isn't here, right? And so we really want to if you have suicidal thoughts, if your brain is at a place where you're making if you have let's go here. Okay, if you have suicidal thoughts, that lets you know you're in a lot of pain. Okay? Let's just go right there. If you have plans, if your brain is starting to show you plans, you have had a lot of pain for a long time, and all the other solutions that you've thought of are not really working for you. Listen to your brain and find a solution that does actually work. Give it a solution. And when you have intentions, you are at the highest risk. You're at high risk when you start planning. When you start having thoughts, I'm not as your therapist, I'm not super worried. I'm not your therapist, but I'm just saying if I was, I'm not super worried. I'm like, yeah, I would expect them to show up. But once we start moving into plans, that's a whole nother level of risk. And then when we have intentions, and I've had clients come and they have the intention, they'll tell me the date, and if this isn't resolved by this time, here we go. Then I'm doing this. And so I'm like, okay, let's rock, and because number one, they just told me that they're in excruciating pain and we need to get them out of pain as fast as possible. And we can. The brain is wonderful and so good at this. And then as we get closer, I'm like, can I get an extension? Is there another date in the future that you know, we're doing really well here. And so, and in all those cases, the answer has been yes, and those people are doing well. Um, but I want you to hear that what your brain is telling you is that it needs this pain to stop. It needs it to stop. And it will help you find the solution. And once it's on plans and intentions, it really thinks these plans are going to do it. These are the only plans. And the longer brains stay on those thoughts, the more it will bring everything into alignment with that. And it will wrap your whole belief system around that. And pretty soon it will make perfect sense to you. And that is very dangerous. That is lethal. And once we get into planning, you are dancing with suicide. And that is a very scary, tough dance. And right when you're in that planning stage, it's there's that's a time of huge amounts of pain. And the pain can really it's you're in your survival system when you're in pain. You're thinking from that part of the brain. That part of the brain does not know how to thrive. It doesn't know how to be well. It doesn't know how to do anything. That's not what that part of the brain does. It doesn't do that. It cannot. And if you're locked back there, what happens when that part activates, it takes over control over your whole brain and everybody has to obey it. And as a matter of fact, it will even shut down. It will turn on down dial on your thinking center and shut the power down to about 20% function. So, and that's where your logic and your reasoning is. That's where this is the only part of you right here that actually knows how I'm going to say this, but I think I can be corrected. I'm going to say this again. But that is the only part of you that knows how to thrive. This one. And if you can't use this one, any decisions you make from this part of the brain, you can't expect thriving to come out of this. You can't expect joy and happiness. This part of the brain creates that. And then everybody else is like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And then everybody works together to make joy and happiness. And that's what we want them to be doing. We want them to make that joy and happiness. But if you're back in the back of the brain, that part doesn't really do that. It just does survival. And it just knows how to keep you alive based on instincts and how we've been programmed over the years, which is fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn, right? And it's not reasonable. You can't plan. You can't problem solve back there. That part of that problem solver part of the brain is shut down. That's why, and this is why we want to use the right interventions to get you from here untangled, and whatever has sent you back there, we want to grab that up in your arms while you're back there. You might as well bring it up to the front of the brain and drop it off and yourself with it, so that this part of the brain can take whatever you brought up and be like, "Ooh, I've been looking for that." And now it can move it through its healing process. And so so as it is scary to have these thoughts, and it is scarier to have them progress. These can lead to tremendous healing, satisfaction, alignment with your highest good, your dream life, everything you've wanted, being that parent that you wanted to be, being opening that business, feeling love going all the way into your toes. Sometimes that's the pain, is the absence of love, and it's like they have everybody around them, but they can't feel it. And I've been there, in the incredible numbness, right? And so, and I said they instead of you, but I want you to understand from other people's perspective if it's not yours. Okay, and that numbness, if you're numb, okay, if you're numb, whenever anybody tells me numb, I am like excruciating. They're in an immense amount of pain. If you're numb, your brain has basically put on like some emotional painkillers because it said it's back there, and it's like, it's back in your chemical department, and it says, we need a painkiller. There's a lot of pain back there, and we need to kill this pain. And so it goes and sends all the chemicals out for numbness. And so that's another way of your body telling you you're in pain. And if you're like, oh, I'm not really in pain, I'm just going through the motions. I feel like a robot. I've got all these suicidal thoughts. No, you are in excruciating amounts of pain. And in those cases, I don't even try to take off the numbness. I want to, where's the pain coming from before the numbness comes off? Okay. So anyway, and then and when we find that stuff that needs to be moved through the brain's healing process, and people are very numb, a lot of times the brain, after it's resolved, the brain is like, why are we so numb? And it will go look and it will not find anything. It's like, oh, I guess we don't need this anymore. And it will come off. That numbness will resolve itself naturally. The brain is incredibly brilliant. Nothing that you're experiencing is happening for no reason. There is a reason you're having these thoughts. Maybe it's secrets that you're carrying. Maybe it's secrets of other people that you're carrying. Maybe it's fears. Maybe it's distress. Maybe it's something that you did in the past. Maybe it's something that was done to you. Maybe it can be so many things, right? We don't know. We'd have to really get in there and look. So, a couple of things I want to say is that there is a proper treatment for this that leads to wonderful things, and you really need the right interventions. Um, and this is not something that talk therapy is going to get you out of. Talk therapy can be very grounding and very supportive. And so if you can get you a talk therapist, you get one. And hopefully they are awesome, but you also need somebody that is good with this specific thing, which is helping the brain heal itself, helping the brain resolve the pain. Because if that pain does not go away, you will not stop having symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and you will not stop having the suicidal thoughts. Okay. The other things going on here is that is this is a great time for support. This is a great time for support. And what I would ask you is let help in. Let the help come in. I don't care where it's coming from. I don't care if it's your friends, if it's your family. I don't care if it's angels. You want to call upon the angels? Call them. I don't care if you want to call on beings. Call them. If you want to get your massage therapist on in this, call them, make appointments. It doesn't have to just be the traditional route. That's just one way of support. There are so many other ways. There are groups, online groups. Those can be great. Even if you're not a super talkative person, you just lurk and you listen to all the super talkative people. A lot of times they will help you get grounded. And this is a lot about grounding and becoming grounded again. And so, and you don't have to use your own energy for it. This is a great time to borrow somebody's. And that's really what that support is all about. Is getting that. You know, I have to fix my hair. I just can't look at it anymore. You won't see a big difference, but I will. Okay. But I want to tell you a little story. that where I learned this thing about letting people help you. And before this story, I would have said the same thing, but now say the same thing and I mean it in a whole different way. Um, my you if you watched my videos a while back, I talked about my mother having a brain tumor, and it ended up being cancerous, and she and when I say this, I am good at ugly crying, and I don't want to impress you with my amazing ugly crying skills. So I would like you to not post my condolences. I really would like that, okay? Because if the compassion comes up, which you can send them to me, PM me, put it on my wherever. Let's just not do this right here, okay? But my mom passed away a month ago, and we cared for her at home till the end. And on the last day, I could not go into her room to care for her. Could not. It was like there was this door. It was like this magnetic field. I could not go in there. And but I found that I could go in there if somebody else would go in there. And mind you, when I couldn't go in there to be with her, I was horrified. I was horrified because I wanted to be with her, but I couldn't. I was having a lot of flee, right? That survival state flee. And so I just wanted to, it was very physical. And but if somebody else would go in there, I would all of a sudden have a little bit more strength to go in there. And um and in between all my ugly crying and my primal crying, which I learned that there is a big difference, I people just kept showing up to be with her, and I could be with her when they were with her. And somebody was like, "I'm gonna go get some chairs and put them around the bed," and I was like, F these chairs. I don't want to go anywhere in there. There's part of me that was just like, no, no. But there was another part of me that was like, yes. And I just stayed in the middle because that's where I was at. And I saw my brother go in and kiss her and love her on her. And I just was like, and I went in, right? And then my cousin was in there. And the next thing I know, I was around the bed with her. And I was with her, and I'm gonna totally, we'll see. And we were talking we were laughing, we were being regular humans around my mom as she was passing, and uh, just like she would want. And and at, and it was just like at the end, it was like I was so proud of her. I was so proud of myself for doing something I never thought I could do. And um being there in that moment, hours and hours before, I didn't have it. I did not. I could not be who I wanted to be. And if it hadn't been for other people, I would have had a different story and not a victory, because I didn't have it. And maybe it would have all come up and I would have just had that strength. But I'm going to tell you, I borrowed it and I didn't even mean to. It's just that there were people around. I didn't even know I needed help. I didn't know I needed support. I've never been through anything like that before. And and so and I'm so grateful, because it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to get support. It's okay for people to go on a different life journey than what you want them to. And it's okay to dance with suicide and death. It's okay. But what I'm sharing with you is it's okay to get help. And you may not even know what help you need right now. But let me tell you, borrow somebody's energy, because this can be a whole amazing, powerful story for you. I've got a client who, um, I closed my therapy practice. I opened it back up. And I hadn't seen her in a while, and I she was on my heart because she just had so much stuff going on. And anyway, let me just say that sometimes when you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, you're really 2 feet from gold. You're really so close, so much closer than you could ever realize yourself, because you're in the survival system and you don't get a lot of great insight back there. And so you don't know how close you are. You don't know how close your transformation is. You don't know. And let me tell you, other people around you can feel it, especially when you start to work with this, with your survival system, and you start to do that healing, right? It's like sometimes doing this work, it gets a little worse before it gets better. Okay. I'm going to tell you that's one of the secrets. But I will tell you that in all the work I've done, I'll tell you honestly, in all the work I've ever done with some severely traumatized people, I only have 2 clients in all those people that got into um, that level of distress. Like in doing the work, no matter how low somebody is, most people come straight up and out. Every once in a while, I've had 2 people take a dip into, I'm really concerned about you. Like you have to be doing pretty bad for Rachel to be like super concerned. I believe in people's power and ability to heal. And, you know, um, I just attract people that are healing. So I don't know what to say about that. Um, I feel like I should justify that statement somehow, but um, I don't think I should. Let me get my tissue. Um, so, but but I will say that there does that if you're at a point where you can't make it on your own anymore, that's okay. Those moments happen in life, and get the help you need. And remember, there is a suicide hotline. It would be fabulous if I was organized enough to like have it here somewhere, but I probably will add it afterwards. Um, and that's really what I want to share, because I know it's happening. I know these thoughts are happening. I know they're out there. During this time with my mom, I had suicidal thoughts, and that's what I was going to tell you. Um, and this is a powerful way I've learned to deal with this. I had suicidal thoughts because my brain, I was like, oh, yeah, yes, thank you. I am so thankful, brain, that you were looking for solutions, because this sucks and we need a better solution than just sitting here in pain. Thank you very much. And can you look at some other options, please? Right. And so really, when we're doing this, when your brain is doing that, it's really on your team. It's not doing what we really want it to be doing. And so a really powerful way to be working with it is to acknowledge it. A lot of times we're like, no, no, let me tell you, you don't want that stuff in the back. Because what it happens is it goes back there and it's like, she does not talking to me. And then it goes back there and talks to all your other subconscious material and programs and other parts of you. And it goes and spreads the message. And next thing you know, everybody's ganging up on you and they're yelling at you about this guy's idea or this woman's idea back here. And then you're ganged up on, and then they like wrestle you for the steering wheel of your life, and then they throw you out the way. And the next thing you know, you're doing exactly what they told you to do. So don't ignore them. Bring them to the front. Have some conversations early. And you can talk about this. Like, I see that we are in pain, and I see that you are looking for solutions to get out. And can you keep looking for solutions? And I would be using some tapping, emotional freedom techniques. I just taught this. I did a free training for emotional freedom techniques in my Facebook group, Releasing the Baggage of Anxiety, Depression, and Traumatic Stress. It's a group for women, um, and you're welcome to join. And I just did a free training on that, and there are so many trainings around, and you can combine tapping with this this issue, and you will, if the suicide, I'm gonna make it longer, right? If the suicide ideation is up here and the root is down here, right? We want to get down here to it. That's where the pain is coming from, that your brain is responding to and creating these solutions. Tapping, you can get this stuff down. You can get it down a lot, and if you have advanced skills, you can really get it all the way to the root. Okay. But even if you have very little skills and you stay on it and you use your intervention while you're having those symptoms, it will start to reduce in intensity, and you're unraveling it. You're unraveling it, and that helps a ton. And then that gives you some space. And when you can work with somebody who can take you the rest of the way, or teach you the advanced skills, then you can really get down there to the root. And that's really what you want to do. So get your brain on board, talk to it, get it, acknowledge it, see what it's trying to do, see it, hear it, give it some space. And a lot of times what happens is people become terrified. They're just like, holy crap, I've got these symptoms. Or I can't believe I thought that. Or I can't believe I was so okay with thinking that. Or I can't believe I thought about that for so long, right? Or I can't believe how good it felt. Or I saw myself buying the things that I would need to accomplish this, right? So as you when you instead of being terrified, number one, please do be alarmed. Be alarmed. Use your intervention to start being like, hey, that's a thing. Look at me. I'm planning this. Oh, brain, what are we doing here? And you're using your intervention, and then you are getting some help. Get help. This is a problem. It's not here for no reason. There is a reason it's happening, and there's a reason it can be resolved. Okay, and like I said, I hope you heard me. This is not something for talk therapy. This is brain work. This is something for the interventions I like best are thought field therapy, emotional freedom techniques, energy medicine, and EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. In the therapy world, there's most therapists are doing EMDR. That's not a great fit for everybody. But if it's the right fit for you, rock and roll with that. But I'm telling you that so that you're aware that you might need to find one of these other therapists or practitioners. Okay. And so those are the interventions I would recommend. And I offer a couple of ways to work with me. And what I specialize in doing is teaching people the advanced strategies so that they can get in there and do the work. And I do it right with them. But the goal here is to teach them how to do it while we're doing it. So we're resolving symptoms, and we're also building their skills so that they're better trained at this than most therapists in their community. And that's because we can't all find therapists. And in my city alone, I can't tell you how many calls I get about I have been trying to get a therapist for months. And you know what? You can do this yourself. And there's several different ways of working with me. And I have an 8-week intensive, which is my most comprehensive program, and it is intensive. We put in about 112 hours of specific and targeted brain work over an 8-week period. And so we are going after symptom after symptom after symptom. Once we resolve one, we're going after the other. We're going after the other. And I teach you how to look in the nooks and crannies of your inner world to find symptoms where symptoms can hide. And where there are symptoms and people don't recognize that they are symptoms. And so that's my 8-week intensive. You can, if you're interested in that, you can go to my website at rachelmcleod.com, and you'll find that there. Um, you'll find opportunities to work with me there. But I also have a less intensive one, and that's for people who really feel like they are not as they need to go slower. And so this one is a slower, it's less intensive, but we get through a lot of symptoms, and it's the fundamentals. So we stay in the fundamental work for a whole month, for 30 days, as opposed to staying in the fundamental part for 2 weeks and being intensive about it. So really that's the 30-day program. And then I have a jumpstart program that I might even have a link to here in my copy and paste. Let's see if it's in my copy and nope, it's not. Um, but that one is an opportunity to work with me where, um, hold on, I do have it right here. Let's see. This opportunity oh my goodness, it's a mess over here, is this one is the first training, the first strategy I teach people. And it's the least um, intensive. It's one session and it is, let's see, and it's the first strategy. And so I just added that there. It's so there's not a whole lot of commitment. You can see if this stuff works, but it's you have to come to it with an intervention. And I train you in three of them in this program that I just added there. The least intensive, so you can play around with it. But it's really so that you can organize your symptoms and go after them specifically and targetedly in a very specific and targeted way. And so it's not wandering around in general well-being. It's this one thing, I want to resolve this, and how to use the interventions in such a way to do that. So it's the structure that you need to be able to get in there and do your dance, do your healing work, and it'll teach you how to guide that your brain through its own healing process. So those are a couple ways to work with me if that's what you're interested in. Um, and Yeah, but ultimately, those are some options for you. And Jennifer was awesome enough to put in the suicide hotline, the phone number there, and that's 1-800-273-8255. And call them day or night. Call them. You're important. You're so important. And the pain that you're going through is real. Many people's pain is dismissed, right? Many of us live in family systems that can't hold space for anybody else's pain, and so you have nowhere to put your pain. You don't know that anybody will hold it for you or help you with it, but it's possible, and they are really a great place to start. You can talk about stuff, plus they'll help you with resources and to get you going. So um, be well, be paying attention to yourself, be open to help, and especially right now. And okay, I think I've said all I want to say. I want to keep going. I want to keep going, but I think that you get the picture. Um, Definitely comment. And Rachel, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. She said it. She's happy she found me. I'm happy you're here too. And good. And then Julianne commented that she didn't realize that numbness was that. And yes, Brianna, you're welcome. Thank you all for joining me today. And love on your people. And sorry, I gotta talk. I gotta say a little bit more. I have a client whose brother died by suicide, and she made a comment that um, love was not enough here, and I think that's true. I just said love on your loved ones, but really love on them because you love on them, not because it's going to save them and not because of any other reason. Um, this really is brain work. The brain work must get done, and it can. It can get done very, very quickly, and it can be beautiful. So that's what I will lead you with. Love on your loved ones because you love them, and let's get this brain work going on, okay? Um, I will see you around. Be well.